I'm Dietz, and I'm a superhero. The book I've got coming out this fall, Super, is coming out on Emergency Press, and it's all about becoming a superhero. So tonight, I want to take you through that process, the process of becoming a superhero. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to the official Level 1 Superhero Examination. You are taking the Level 1 examination because the Super Services Division has determined that there is a need for the position of Level 1 Superhero. The Super Services Division recognizes the extreme duress that superheroes are exposed to, and thus recognizes that an extra sound mind is imperative. The Super Services Division requires that you take this comprehensive psychological assessment to determine if you are mentally fit for the position. The Level 1 psychological assessment is being handed out to you. There is no time limit for completing this assessment, but the length of time you take will be recorded and considered along with your responses. Listen carefully to what I'm about to read and then mark your responses on the official assessment. The Super Services Division will evaluate your responses and notify you of any further necessary action and/or your acceptance or non-acceptance as a Level 1 superhero. Good luck. The surgery at the deli. Jonesy was berating Robert over lunch. Finally, Jonesy softened enough to say, "I just want you to understand, I think you are purposely falling in love with people you can never have." Robert nodded thoughtfully. "You may be right," he said, which was a phrase he used when he didn't agree with someone's opinion. In a hotel room in Flagstaff. "I really think we should just get it over with, don't you?" Tamara hollered from the bathroom. "Whatever you say," Robert answered. The contract job was over. His costume was untucked and his dress shoes leaned against the door. There was a sound of breaking glass. "Oh crap," she cried, "I broke my pipe." She found him on his back pretending to watch TV, trying not to pass out. There was a Band-Aid wrapped around the end of her pipe. "I can still use it," she said. She sat by the open window and started her ritual, blowing smoke out of the room every few minutes. He flipped through the channels and stopped on the news. Apparently, fellow superheroes Sala and Pomo hadn't resolved the hostage crisis yet. And Kansas had lost, but he knew that already from watching the game at the brewery. Soon the intermittent sound of the lighter ceased, and Tamara flopped next to him on the bed. "Show me some yoga," he said. "Okay." She curled up into a ball on her back. "This one's nice." He copied her. "Now roll from side to side," she said. He watched, mimicking her movements. They stopped at the same time. She put her hand on the remote, and after a while she said, "There's nothing on." "Yeah, that's the bad thing about cable," he said. "It takes longer to decide nothing's on because you have to flip through more channels." He closed his eyes. Gray and black swirled behind his eyelids. Then her lips were on his, and her smoky alcohol toothpaste breath touched his tongue. And Helen, who was just a dream, and Sarah Ferris, who was very real, yet equally inaccessible, gently drifted away. Helen, from the coffee shop. During a brief conversation with Helen in a coffee shop, Robert recorded two details. 1. She had once worked in a library. 2. She lived practically across the street from the Grass Tree Tavern. 1 month later, he realized he was in love with her. He didn't know her address, phone number, or last name, but as she had worked in a library, he felt she would have a library card. So instead of balancing invoices, which is what the library paid his secret identity to do, he began checking every card holder with the first name of Helen and cross-referenced those accounts for an address within a 2-block radius of the Grass Tree Tavern. It took 5 months to go through every last name beginning with A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. He gave up in the middle of H, calculating that, given the high apartment turnover of the neighborhood, if she hadn't moved by now, she would have by the time he got to her name. Despite ending his search, he thought of her constantly. Sarah Ferris, from his other job. Robert fell in love with Sarah Ferris while waiting for the elevator to drop one floor. As they passed each other in the halls over the course of months, he realized she had the ability to act like everything was okay while shouldering a great amount of suffering. Of course, he couldn't be sure about that since she never spoke about the great amounts of suffering that she obviously must be hiding. He memorized each of her visible tattoos and even started playing guitar again. Yet she had a boyfriend who cooked while he could not string two sentences together in her presence. Despite the obvious impossibility of a relationship, he thought of her constantly. Robert's heart, which shall hereafter be called Frank. Frank had been ripped from his body and torn into pieces. So when Robert opened his eyes in the dark hotel room, in the middle of Tamra's smoky kisses, he saw the scar on her shoulder, lit by the television, and he caved. He lost consciousness of Frank, grabbed Tamra's neck, and forced her tongue deeper into his mouth. For 1 second, he thought she could end it. The surgery. Tamra's precision was sloppy at best. Frank was not sewn together, but instead crammed, still in pieces, into the gaping hole in Robert's chest, which Tamra stitched up loosely with dental floss. Within 2 weeks, his chest split open, and pieces of Frank began to fall out during luncheons and block parties and bar mitzvahs. He didn't bother to put the pieces back in. Months later, during a library meeting on e-commerce, Robert attempted a communication with himself by writing a memo. Memo. Priority low. To you from me. Message. Though Frank is entirely missing, for one moment you felt Frank beating within you. This will be the best you can do for a long, long while. The Level 1 psychological assessment is now complete. Mail in your responses or hand them to me later tonight. Best of luck to all of you.